Hi everyone, it's Anne here. Welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about an expression that I think it's quite common in everyday conversation. And this was a question that I got here on YouTube. The question was, what does it mean? Like, how do we use it and in what situation? So today I'm going to go over the expression, what are we looking at? What are we looking at? So first, let's talk about the pronunciation and what's going on here with the linking and reducing the sounds. So you will never hear people say, what are we looking at? But rather in fast speech, it'll be, what are we? What are we will be reduced or shortened to, what are we? What are we? What are we looking at? Looking at. Okay, so altogether, what are we looking at? What are we looking at? This expression can be used in different situations. So I'm going to go over some examples that you might hear people use this expression. So the first one here, what is the meaning of what are we looking at? Generally, when we use what are we looking at, we're asking for a very clear, concise explanation about something. Okay, so pretty much you would use it as a question to ask someone to give you a very brief, concise explanation. Now, an example of this is when we are at the hospital or when we're at a doctor's office, you might hear the doctor say something like, what are we looking at? And what are we looking at? And this, in simple terms, the question is asking like, what's wrong? What can I help you with? What brought you into the hospital today? So they're just asking you, why you're here. So you might say, oh, I have a headache, or I have a lot of pains and aches in my shoulder area. So what's wrong? What are we looking at? Another situation that you might hear this is when you are in a professional setting at a business meeting. So let's say you're at a meeting and the meeting is about to start. The supervisor or the person who is conducting the meeting might ask something like, well, what are we looking at today on the schedule? Or what are we looking at on our agenda today? So that's just a question like, what do we need to discuss today in our meeting? So as the person that is responding, you might just give a very brief and concise summary of what you will be talking about today at the meeting. So what are we looking at on the agenda today? Another situation that we use what are we looking at is to give like a very rough estimate of a number or a figure. An example of this is, let's say you just moved into your new apartment or your new home and you want to buy some new sofas. So you go to the furniture store and you tell the employees that, okay, I want this type of sofa with this type of material. And you might ask them like, okay, so how much am I looking at? Or what are we looking at? And that means that you're asking them to give you an estimate of how much it will cost for that type of sofa that you want. Okay, so this is very common oftentimes when we go to the store when we want to buy something that is a little bit more pricey, more expensive, and you have certain criterias or things that you want. And after telling them that, okay, I want this, 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 and that, and you might ask them, okay, well, how much are we looking at, or what are we looking at? And that's just asking like how much, what's the approximate cost for buying this. Another example might be, let's say you are a team project leader at your company and you guys have this project that you're doing and you just, you're shorthanded. You need a few more people to join your team. So you might go to your manager and say, you know what, I probably need a few more people to, help me accomplish this task and finish this project. So your manager might ask you, well, okay, well, what are we looking at? Or how many people are we looking at? That means that they want to know how many more people, like the approximate number of people that you will need to finish the project. So these are just some common ways that we use what are we looking at. One is when you want to ask somebody for just a very brief summary about something, like for example, at the doctor's office, or when you are going over some kind of meeting agenda with people, you might ask, like, what are we looking at? Another situation is when you want to get an approximate number or an estimated cost of something. You might ask, how much are we looking at? Or what are we looking at? I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and tap on the bell icon. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video.